My name is Aaron Pike, and I work as a wilderness guide in the North Cascades of Washington. I've led hiking groups, solo expeditions, and survival workshops for nearly 12 years. Out here, GPS isn't just a tool, it's the thin line between life and vanishing. The ridges swallow signals, and storms can roll in fast enough to make you question your own memory of the trail. I've seen phones die, compasses spin, batteries drain to nothing. But the incident last summer, it wasn't a dead battery. It wasn't interference. It was something I still can't explain. That morning started clean. Clear skies, air sharp enough to sting your lungs, the faint burn of pine sap on the wind. I was guiding a small group. 3 clients who'd signed up for a one-day intermediate hike through the Desolation Ridge corridor. We left base camp at 8:42 a.m. My altimeter read 3,012 feet. Everything normal. By 10, we'd reached the first overlook, a rocky shoulder with a view of the glacial basin below. I remember the light, how it bent through the trees in those thin white beams that made dust motes shimmer like snow. The kid, Evan, set up his tripod. He kept checking his phone for signal strength. I told him the ridge needs signals this high, but he shrugged it off. I just use offline maps. The wife, Marissa, looked nervous. She kept glancing at her smartwatch. Her husband, Dean, teased her for counting steps like civilization was waiting at the next bend. We laughed. The kind of laugh you share early in a hike before the trail starts teaching you humility. Around 11,030, we pushed deeper into the ridge. The trees grew tighter, darker. The air lost its warmth. I marked our route every mile, flagging GPS coordinates on my Garmin, noting landmarks like split pines or stone stacks left by past hikers. The forest here has a strange quiet, as if it's listening. Every sound feels like it's waiting for something else to answer. At 12,047 p.m., I noticed my Garmin screen flicker. Just once, a brief pulse of static lines across the map screen. I tapped the glass. We were nearing the switchback that leads to the saddle trail, a spot notorious for losing signal. I called a short break and logged our position manually. Standard protocol. That's when I realized my phone had shut off. Not low battery, not frozen, just black. I held the power button. Nothing. I pressed again. Nothing. I pressed again. Nothing. Evan frowned when I mentioned it, checking his own. Same, he said. Mine just went blank. All 4 devices. My Garmin, my phone, Evan's camera, Marissa's smartwatch dead within seconds. No sound, no warning, just gone. I've been in the backcountry long enough to know tech failures happen, but never all at once, never in sync, never in a place this still. The air changed too. It got thicker, as if the pressure had dropped, but no storm followed. I led, compass in hand, following the route we'd just come from, except it wasn't the same. At first, I thought we'd veered off slightly. The path seemed narrower, the slope steeper, but then the landmarks changed. The fallen cedar I'd stepped over earlier was gone, the wrought cairn near the creek missing. Evan swore we were retracing correctly. Marissa started to panic, saying the forest looked different, like the trees had moved. I told her to keep calm, that the brain plays tricks in repeating terrain. We walked for 20 minutes. No sign of the overlook, no sound of the creek. I checked my watch instinctively, even though it was off. It said 12:47, the same time as when the devices shut down. I tried to shake it, blaming magnetic interference, but deep down I felt something tightening around us. Dean stopped suddenly and pointed. Trail marker. Sure enough, a red plastic trail marker hung from a branch ahead, just like the ones used by the Forest Service. Relief washed over us. We pushed toward it, only to find, when we got close, that the marker wasn't plastic. It was cloth, torn from some red nylon pack, knotted around the branch. Below it, on the ground, was a boot print, but not one of ours. The imprint was clear in the soil, facing the opposite direction. I crouched down to study it, and that's when I noticed the pattern. It wasn't a single print. There were 3, all identical, perfectly identical. Same depth, same pressure, same angle, like the same foot had been pressed into the earth 3 times, one after another, with machine precision. Evan lifted his camera instinctively, even though it was still dead. "This isn't right," he whispered. The silence returned, deeper now. The needle spun slowly, then stopped dead, pointing nowhere. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just malfunction. Something out there wanted us still. We started moving anyway. Every step sounded too loud. Every branch break echoed too long. The forest felt stretched, like it went on forever in all directions. I kept checking the light, but the sun wasn't where it should have been. It stayed fixed, low in the trees, as if the day had stalled. After maybe half an hour, maybe more, maybe less, we saw the creek again. Relief hit me hard. The same rocky bend, the same trickle of water. But when I looked closer, the rocks weren't wet. The water wasn't moving. It hung, motionless, clear as glass, frozen mid-ripple. No sound, no flow, just stillness. Marissa whispered, "Please, Aaron, tell me this is normal." I couldn't. Then, somewhere ahead of us, down the creek bed, a sound cracked the air. A single, sharp click, like a radio being switched on. Then silence again. We froze. Evan raised his head slowly, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Before I could answer, the click came again, closer this time, followed by the faintest hum, like feedback. That's when my Garmin flickered back to life for half a second. The screen glowed pale blue, no map loaded, just a single message flashing in block text across the display. "Run." And somewhere behind us, in the direction we'd come from, the forest began to move. Dean turned first. I didn't. I kept my eyes on the dark corridor of trees ahead, because part of me knew, whatever was moving behind us, I didn't want to give it the satisfaction of my attention. My voice came out lower than I meant. We went fast, but not running yet. The slope ahead dropped sharply toward the basin, so I led them through switchbacks, down over roots slick with moss. Evan kept looking back, his breathing uneven, whispering, "It's following us, I swear it's following us." I told him to focus forward. "If we panic, we split," I said. "If we split, we die out here." Marissa stumbled once, caught her ankle on a root. Dean helped her up, muttering that he couldn't see the trail markers. I checked too. The red ribbons I'd tied earlier were gone. Everyone. The forest floor looked swept clean, like no one had ever walked there. At 1:11 p.m., I know because I looked at my dead watch again and it still read the same time. Something in the air shifted, a metallic taste on my tongue, the kind you get before lightning. But there was no storm, no wind, no smell of rain, just static. He even stopped suddenly. "Do you hear that?" I strained my ears. For a second, nothing, then faint but rising, a low hum, like an engine idling under the ground. It wasn't coming from a direction. It was just there, everywhere, vibrating through the soles of my boots. Marissa pressed her hands to her ears. "It's inside my head," she said. I realized the birds still hadn't come back. The forest was a vacuum. That's when Evan said quietly, "Guys, we're going in circles." He pointed behind us. My stomach dropped. There, no more than 30 feet back, was the same split pine I'd marked an hour ago. Its trunk had that distinct diagonal scar, like lightning had grazed it once. There were some 4 sets, but they didn't behave right. They curved in on themselves, like we'd been orbiting the same patch of dirt. Even worse, some overlapped too perfectly, same pressure, same angle, the same uncanny precision as the boot prints earlier. "All right," I said, steady as I could. "We're not staying here." No trail, just compass bearing. Dean frowned. "But your compass, I'll use the sun," I said. Except when I looked up, the sun wasn't where it should have been. It hung low in the same quadrant of sky, motionless, washed white instead of gold. The light felt wrong, like it had lost its warmth. Evan muttered, "I swear it's later than this. It should be past 2. It feels like 4. We pushed forward anyway." I used the slope and tree density as my guide, moving toward thinner forest, always down and east. It should have taken us toward the basin. Instead, after 15 minutes, the terrain leveled out again. Same thick trees, same slope, same silence. A few yards ahead, half hidden under ferns, lay a GPS unit. Not mine. It was one of the older models. Garmin 64 series, scratched and mud-caked. I picked it up carefully. The screen was cracked but flickering faintly. When it blinked on, there was only one coordinate set displayed, looping over and over on the map. Same spot, no movement. The waypoint name read, "Help." "Please, that's not ours." I didn't answer right away, because I recognized the label on the back of the GPS. It was stenciled with permanent marker, SAR Unit 4B, Desolation. That was a rescue unit tag, ours. We'd lost Unit 4B 2 years ago. I'd been part of that search. A 2-man team vanished while retrieving a stranded hiker from the same corridor. Their GPS, radio, and packs were never found. I dropped it fast and stood. Move. Now dropped it fast and stood. Move. No more control. No measured pace. Just blind momentum through the trees. Branches whipped my face. The ground blurred underfoot. I didn't look back, not until I heard Dean yell. When I turned, he and Marissa were gone. Not fallen, not lagging, gone. The space where they'd been a heartbeat ago was empty, the forest behind me still. I shouted their names, nothing, not even echo. Evan grabbed my arm. "Keep going," he said. His voice cracked. "Don't stop." We kept running, breath tearing at our throats. I had no sense of direction now, only that everything around us was the same shade of dark green. Then, suddenly, we burst out into light. We were standing in a clearing, a perfect oval of open space about 20 yards across. The ground was smooth, unnaturally so, like it had been scraped flat. The trees around the edge leaned inward slightly, their trunks bending as if bowing toward the center. In the middle of the clearing stood a cairn of stones, 5 feet tall, built with impossible symmetry. On top of it sat a small metal box, my box, the emergency transponder from our base camp. I'd left that locked inside my pack, back at the ranger station 10 miles away. Evan stared at it, pale and sweating. "How the hell?" I cut him off. "Don't touch it." He took a step closer anyway. "But if it's working, if it's here, something brought it here." He looked at me, mouth open, eyes darting between me and the cairn. "You think this is like... I don't know what I think." The air shifted again. The hum returned, faint but rising. The trees leaned closer. The box on the cairn flickered once like it caught a signal. Then, from the box came a single ping, a GPS ping, followed by another. And then, a voice crackling, faint, broken by static. "Aaron, they're alive?" I stared at the box. The voice continued, warbling, distorted, like a recording half corrupted. Coordinates, same as, "Don't, let it find you." Then a sound overrode the static. Click. The same one we'd heard by the creek. The voice was gone. The second ring. An arrow, pointing behind us. Evan turned slowly. And in the tree line stood Dean, alone. Except something was wrong with his posture. He was too still, too upright. His face caught the half-light, and his eyes, both black, no whites. He smiled without moving his mouth. And the transponder spoke again, in my own voice this time. "Run. One." The figure standing in the tree line was Dean's size, Dean's build, wearing the same tan jacket, but the way it held itself was wrong. The shoulders too high, the head tilted slightly off-center, like a puppet strung up wrong. "Dean?" I said, though I already knew better. The figure's mouth opened, slow and soundless at first. Then came a static crackle, like feedback over a radio, building until words forced their way through. "Ah, Ron." My name, stretched out, warped, like it was being pulled through a speaker underwater. Evan backed into me, trembling. "That's not him." The thing took one step forward. The sound of its boot hitting soil was hollow, like something dropping on wood. The trees seemed to lean closer, branches trembling, though there was no wind. "Stay behind me," I said, drawing the flare gun from my belt. The red casing felt cold, heavier than it should have. We're leaving. The thing, Dean, or whatever, had learned to wear his face, took another step, then stopped. It tilted its head again, sharp and mechanical. The air hummed. I fired the flare. The shot screamed through the clearing, bursting in red light that flooded the trees. The figure didn't flinch. The flare hovered longer than it should have, suspended midair, flickering like a dying bulb. The light bent around the thing, and for an instant I saw its outline shimmer, like the forest behind it was being seen through heat haze. Then the flare snapped out, extinguished mid-burn. The clearing went dark again. Evan grabbed my arm. "Go!" We ran, back through the trees, stumbling over roots and stones. The forest had changed again. Thicker, denser, like it was closing behind us. The sound followed, not footsteps, but a rhythm, a pulse. Each beat matched the thud of my heart. I kept my focus on the incline. Downhill meant toward the basin, toward water, open ground, signal, anything. Evan gasped behind me. "It's closer. Don't look," I shouted. "Just move." We burst through another tree line and onto what should have been a dry creek bed. But the moment my boots hit the gravel, I stopped dead. The water was flowing uphill. Tiny ripples ran backward along the stones, smooth and steady, like time was reversed only in that one place. The air around it shimmered faintly, distorting the light. Evan stood beside me, eyes wide. "What the hell?" Before he could finish, the hum returned, louder than before, vibrating the air so hard my teeth ached. The sound didn't come from any direction. It came from everywhere. Then the eyes opened. Evan stumbled back, tripping over a rock. "Aaron, go! Go!" I grabbed his jacket and pulled him toward the tree line. As we moved, the frozen water cracked. Not shattered, just split open like fabric tearing. The sound it made wasn't water breaking, it was breathing. We didn't stop running until the creek vanished behind us. We finally collapsed near a fallen cedar, gasping. I dropped my pack, checked my pockets for my radio, still dead. I tried my phone again. Still nothing. The battery icon pulsed faintly once, like it wanted to start, then went black again. Evan sat beside me, clutching his knees. Dean's gone. Marissa's gone. We're next. "Not yet," I said. "We get back to high ground. The ridge. If we can see the road, we can orient by landmarks." He shook his head. "We can orient by landmarks." We've been walking for hours, and it's still noon. He wasn't wrong. The light hadn't changed since the moment our devices died. The shadows stayed the same length. No shift in sun, no drift of time. Just the same stale brightness that burned without warmth. I forced myself to stand. "Come on." We followed the slope up until the trees thinned, giving way to open granite. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. The view opened up wide miles of forest stretching to the horizon. The ridges were too many, valleys where none should be, and in the distance, maybe a half-mile off, another clearing, perfectly circular, like the one we'd escaped. In its center, faint but visible, stood another cairn. Even saw it too. There's two. The me in the clearing had my stance, my jacket, even the same dirt mark on my sleeve. Evan was beside me, smaller, pale, turned slightly toward the trees. And then, in the reflection through the lenses, I saw something else standing behind us. Too tall, too close. I dropped the binoculars, heart hammering. Evan looked at me, terrified. "What? What?" "Run." We sprinted. No plan, no direction. The hum rose again, now layered with whispers, fragments of voices overlapping. "Help! Turn back! Not yours! Leave!" Branches slashed my arms, rocks scraped my shins, but I didn't stop until the ground dropped away under me. I barely managed to grab a branch before tumbling down a short ledge. We'd found another path, narrow, winding between cliff walls. We followed it until the sound faded. Slowly, the air grew lighter, the pressure lifted. For the first time in hours, or whatever counted as hours, I felt the faintest wind move across my skin. Evan laughed once, half crazed. Maybe we did it. Maybe we broke out. I wanted to believe him. Then I looked down at my wrist. My watch had turned on again. 12:47. Same time, same second. Evan saw it too. His smile vanished. No. Behind us, something clattered softly. Metal on stone. We turned. Whoa. Lying in the dirt was the same GPS unit I dropped earlier, the one marked SAR Unit 4B. Only now, its screen was glowing bright. The display showed 2 coordinates. The first was fixed, our current location. The second was moving, closing in fast. Evan whispered, "It's tracking us." I grabbed his arm. "We need to destroy it." He hesitated, then slammed it against a rock. The casing cracked but didn't break. He hit it again and again until the screen split, flickering with static. Then it made one last sound. A single, sharp click. The light inside it died. For a long moment, we just stood there, breathing hard. Then, faintly, from farther down the ravine, a sound echoed back to us. Footsteps. Slow. Evan stepped back, shaking his head. "That's you," the voice called again, louder, perfectly calm. "This is Aaron Pike, wilderness guide. We're looking for 2 missing hikers, Evan Lewis and Dean Harper. Do you copy?" I mouthed the words before they came. We run now, and no matter what we hear, we don't stop. We turned and fled down the ravine as my own voice echoed behind us again. Closer, this time. Clearer. Run. Evan tripped twice before I caught him by the shoulder. We were sliding through gravel, hands scraping against cold stone, lungs burning. The canyon walls rose high on both sides now, too narrow to climb, too smooth to grip. Our footsteps bounced back at us like someone else running just behind. The echo of my own voice followed, the same words on repeat, same tone, same breath. "This is Aaron Pike, 2 missing hikers, Evan Lewis and Dean Harper. Do you copy?" It was coming from everywhere at once. The trail bent sharply left, and the light changed. Not brighter, just thinner, drained. Surface flat as glass. Evan stopped short. No, not again. The air was colder here. My breath came out in white bursts. I tested the ground, soft, damp, no reflection of sky. The pond had no inlet, no outlet, no ripples either. Then something caught my eye on the far bank, a shape, half buried in silt. A backpack. Inside was a Forest Service patch and a tag marked Unit 4B, the same as before. Only this time, the pack wasn't empty. Wrapped in a torn map case was a Polaroid photo sun-bleached and water-stained. 4 people stood in front of the ranger station. I recognized 2 right away. Me, from years ago, shorter hair, same uniform. And behind me, grinning, was Dean Harper. But the other 2 blurred, like the camera had failed to hold them still. One of them had failed to hold them still. One of them had the same outline as Evan. He saw it too. "That's how?" I folded the photo fast, shoved it in my jacket pocket. "We keep moving." "Moving where?" he said, voice breaking. "This isn't a map anymore, Aaron. It's a loop. We're walking inside something." He wasn't wrong. The ridges, the cairns, the ponds, they all had a geometry that felt designed, deliberate, not random wilderness. A pattern. The pond surface rippled. Once, then twice. We froze. We froze. We froze red outward, but nothing had touched the water. No wind, no thrown stone. Just movement from beneath, like something breathing under the surface. Evan backed away. "We need to go." Agreed. We turned, but the path behind us had changed. Where the narrow ravine had been was now a wall of trees, dense, black, pressed close together as if the forest had grown while we blinked. The air thickened again, heavy with the same metallic tang. The hum rose out of the ground, low and electric, making my knees shake. The pond began to vibrate. its surface shivering with tiny concentric circles. Then, faintly, voices whispered through the sound. Not words at first, just broken syllables. "Help! Turn! Don't!" Evan pressed his hands to his ears. "Make it stop!" I took his arm, pulled him toward the tree line. "Move!" We forced our way between the trunks, ducking low, scraping through undergrowth that seemed to shift around us. I could feel the hum trailing us like static clinging to skin. After what felt like minutes, or maybe none at all, the ground leveled and we stumbled into open air. We were back at the ridge overlook. The same overlook we'd left hours ago. My stomach turned. The rocks, the view, even the cairn we'd stacked were identical. My boot prints were still fresh in the dust, leading away in the same direction we'd gone. Evan let out a noise somewhere between a laugh and a sob. We never left. He dropped to his knees. I wanted to tell him to breathe, to focus, but I couldn't find words. Because on the cairn, balanced on the very top, was another GPS unit, newer this time. My model, my serial number. I climbed up slowly and took it. Between them, fragments of text appeared. Follow, do not look. Back south corridor, none. R war, none. The screen froze again on one set of coordinates. I didn't recognize them. The elevation reading was wrong, negative. 47 feet. Below sea level. Evan stood, clutching his head. "What's happening to us?" I didn't know, but the ridge air felt colder now, sharper, and the sky above had flattened into a single gray sheet, no clouds, no sun. Somewhere behind us, the trees started whispering, real whispering, this time soft, rhythmic, like wind learning to speak. Evan turned too fast. "You hear that?" "Yes," I said quietly. "Keep walking." We followed the ridge south, staying on open rock. I counted every step, forcing my focus to stay tactile. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every survival manual I'd ever written was screaming inside my head. Don't panic, don't lose rhythm, don't surrender pattern. But the pattern itself was lying to us. After maybe 10 minutes, the ground narrowed to a knife-edge trail. Cliffs dropping away on both sides. Fog gathered below, thick and unmoving. Evan stayed behind me, quiet now. Then I noticed something strange in the mist below, flashes of color. Red, orange, yellow, like the bright fabric of jackets. People. Dozens of them, standing motionless on ledges that shouldn't exist. All pale, all blurred. But every one of them was us. Different versions. Me, Evan, Dean, Marissa. Layered like film exposures. Some turned slightly wrong, some transparent. Evan screamed. His foot slipped, gravel tumbling into the fog. He fell to his knees, shaking. "Get up!" I shouted, grabbing his arm. But the fog below began to rise, climbing the cliff like smoke. Within seconds, it was around our ankles, cold as ice. Shapes flickered inside it. Hands, outlines, reflections of us. The GPS in my hand buzzed violently, the screen flashing unreadable symbols. Then it displayed one final line of text before dying. "If your GPS turns off, you're inside." I dropped it. The hum roared back. The fog reached my waist now, thick enough to choke on. Evan's hand slipped from mine. I grabbed for him. Evan's hand slipped from mine. My watch glowed faintly again. 12:47. Still, somewhere far behind, down the slope, came that click, the one that started it all. Then my radio crackled to life. Unit 4B to base. We found one survivor, male, approximately mid-30s. Identity uncertain. Says his name is Aaron Pike. The voice paused. Requesting guidance. Requesting guidance. He keeps asking what time it is. I woke up to light. Not sunlight, too flat, too white. It came from nowhere, filling the air instead of falling from above. My head throbbed. My mouth tasted like metal. For a long time, I didn't move. The ground beneath me was cold, smooth, not soil or stone, more like concrete. When I finally forced my eyes open, the world came into focus. A corridor of trees so straight they could have been carved by hand, each trunk identical in size, spacing perfect, bark flawless. The forest had symmetry, and symmetry in nature never means safety. I pushed myself up. My pack was gone. My jacket too. Just the flare gun strapped to my belt, half a cartridge left. The air felt sterile, soundless. Then I saw the figure. A few yards ahead, someone stood with their back to me, motionless, hands at their sides. Tall, wearing ranger green. For a second, hope flashed sharp and bright. "Hey!" I called, my voice cracking the silence like a gunshot. The figure didn't move. "Hey!" "Nothing." I took a cautious step forward, boots scuffing the ground. The figure's head twitched once, barely, but it was enough. It was enough. But the eyes were different, pale, washed out, like they'd been drained of color. The copy raised its hand slowly, pointing behind me. I turned. The forest was gone. In its place stretched a road, thin, cracked asphalt, disappearing into white horizon. A yellow line ran down the center, flickering faintly as though lit from beneath. Low, steady, seeping through the road itself. I followed the line. I didn't want to, but the air pressed on me like a tide, pushing me forward. My watch ticked, but the hands never moved. Each time I blinked, the trees shifted, growing closer, then farther, like the world couldn't decide how far away it was. After what felt like an hour, the road ended at a sign. It was the entrance to the park. The same wooden sign that read Desolation Ridge Corridor, except the letters were wrong, backward, carved deep like they'd been mirrored. Beneath it, a smaller sign hung loosely, half-rotted, swinging in wind I couldn't feel. "You are her." The map etched into it showed one red circle pulsing faintly, no trails, no borders, just forest. Behind me, a voice spoke softly. "Yeah. Stay where you are." The voice chuckled softly. "You're pointing that the wrong way." A hand landed on my shoulder. Cold. Too cold. I spun around and fired. The flare exploded between us in a burst of red light. The thing stumbled back, and for a split second, I saw its real shape. Not a man, not anything finished. A hollow outline filled with static, like a human signal drawn wrong. The air around it bent. Images of faces flickering in and out. Evan, Marissa, Dean, me, dozens more, all layered, all whispering. Then the flare died mid-burn again, swallowed by the white. I ran. The forest stretched in every direction. My breath echoed louder than my footsteps. I didn't know where I was going, only that if I stopped, the hum got louder. Then, suddenly, sound returned. I broke through a line of trees and stumbled out onto a slope. I knew this place. The same overlook from the morning, the same rock ledge, same basin view. My camp chair sat exactly where I'd left it. The thermos beside it still steaming. The world looked normal again. For a moment, I thought maybe, somehow, it was over. That I'd blacked out, hallucinated, dreamt the whole thing. But when I touched the thermos, the metal burned my hand. Not hot cold, so cold it seared my skin. You. Then I saw the photo lying beside it. The same Polaroid from the backpack, except now the image was clear. 4 people, standing in front of the ranger station. Me, Dean, Marissa, Evan, all smiling. But there was a 5th figure in the background, half hidden by shadow. Tall, pale, faceless. And behind my printed face, written in marker, "If your GPS turns off, you've already left." My phone buzzed in my pocket. For the first time all day, the screen glowed bright. One message. No number. 12:47. Then another line appeared, typing itself slowly. "Run." Let's start over. The world blinked. Sunlight. Fresh, sharp air. My Garmin beeped back to life. 8:42 a.m. The day's first coordinates loaded. The ridge stretched ahead, calm and bright. Behind me, 3 hikers stood waiting, a husband and wife from Portland and a college kid with a camera. All smiling, unaware. "Ready when you are," Evans said. I nodded slowly, my throat tight. "Yeah, let's get started." I didn't check it right away, not until the first turn of the trail. When I did, the notification glowed faint blue across the screen. Signal lost. Battery 100%, 12,047. The clock never moves. I've checked it a dozen times now. Every time I lift my wrist, the second hand trembles, ticks half a breath, and stops again at 12,047. The sun's in the wrong place, hanging too low, too white for morning. The forest smells new, the air scrubbed clean, but everything else feels used, rehearsed. The same pine leaning left across the bend, the same thin branch scratching my sleeve, the same laugh from Marissa when Dean pretends to trip. Even the light flickers at the same place in the trees, like the day's running on a loop I can't rewind or break. We reach the overlook around 10, or what should be 10. The sky doesn't change. The words fall exactly as they did before, down to the same awkward shrug. I watch him and feel my stomach turn. "Keep it off," I tell him. He laughs. "Yeah, sure. I'll just enjoy the vibes." That line. That exact line. He said it last time too. I realize I've already spoken this entire conversation before. Every syllable fitting into grooves carved by something I can't see. I want to scream that this isn't real, that we've done all this already, that I saw him die or vanish or worse, but the words stick. I can't ruin the script. I try anyway. "Hey, Evan." He looks up. "Yeah?" "Don't let your GPS die." You just told me to keep it off." That smile freezes me. My hands shake on my trekking poles. I mark the same trees, place the same ribbon flags, each one disappearing seconds later when I glance back. By 11,030, or whatever version of 11,003 this is, we reach the narrowing ridge. My garment flickers. Static lines pulse across the map again. I don't even bother to check my phone. "Break time?" Dean asks. "No," I say too fast. "Keep going." Marissa tilts her head. "You okay?" When it happens, when everything shuts off again, I'm not surprised. Evan's camera dies first, then Marissa's watch, then my Garmin screen goes black. "Power surge?" Dean says. "No," I whisper. "Don't stop walking." But they do. The forest stiffens. The air thickens. We are right back where it began. Same silence. Same weight pressing down on us. I know what's coming next. The identical footprints in the soil. The red cloth marker. The single click from somewhere behind. I try to change it. Push left instead of right. Lead them down toward where I think the basin should be. The path curves exactly the same way anyway. The forest rearranges itself to meet us. Evan's breathing quickens. "You hear that?" he says again, right on cue. "Yes," I say. "Don't look back this time." He does anyway. "None of this is. What are you talking about? We've done this already. You died." He blinks, uneasy smile faltering. "Funny joke, man." "I'm not joking." And then comes the hum. The vibration deep in the soil, the taste of iron on my tongue, the whisper threading through the trees. I try to speak over it. "Keep walking. Don't listen. Don't." But my words dissolve into static. Their mouths move, but I can't hear them anymore. World has volume, but none of it belongs to us. The light folds. For a heartbeat, everything snaps. Sound, color, air. Then I'm standing alone. The trail's empty. My pack lies in the dirt. The same faint hum pulses through the ground like a slow heartbeat. I spin around, shouting their names. Nothing answers except a voice calling back from farther up the ridge. "Aaron Pike, Wilderness Guide." My voice. I push forward, hoping, desperate, that this time maybe the loop cracked. Maybe I can find whatever version of myself is still alive and ask how to stop it. The forest opens into that clearing again, the circle of stones, the cairn at its heart. But the cairn's taller now, new layers stacked perfectly, as if each loop added another ring. And at the top sits a different object, not the transponder, not a GPS, my journal, the one I'd left locked in the ranger cabin. I climb toward it, legs trembling. The pages are soaked through but legible. Every entry is mine, until the last one. It's dated June 14, same as today. The writing isn't mine. If your GPS turns off, you've entered the signal. It will always reset. You are the landmark now. Stay still long enough, and others will follow you in. 12,047. 12,047, 12,047, 12,047, 12,047, 12,000 bort, growing teeth filling my skull. The cairn shudders, stones grind, the ground pulses once, then twice. I stagger back. From within the pile, something pushes outward. Fingers. Pale and shaking, clawing free from between the rocks. Then a wrist. Then an arm in a ranger's sleeve, my sleeve. Another hand bursts out beside it. My own voice comes out raw. Wrong. Don't run this time. I stumble backward. The air twists, the world bending like melted glass. Every tree in the clearing tilts toward me, their branches groaning. Then everything stops. Silence. The other me stands upright now, brushing dust from his uniform. He looks tired, older. It doesn't stop, he says softly. You just trade places. He steps forward. It's your turn to guide them out. The light fractures white, sharp, blinding. When I blink again, I'm standing at the trailhead. The morning's fresh. The air smells like pine and dew. 3 hikers wait for me at the gate. A husband, a wife, a college kid with a camera. Morning Ranger, the kid says. You must be our guide. I open my mouth to say no, to warn them, but only one word comes out. Quiet, automatic, not mine. Ready? They nod. Automatic, not mine, not mine. Ready? My Garmin beeps once and flashes a message I can't ignore. New route recorded. Desolation loop. Starting point saved. I look at the time. 12:47. The new group is different, but only on the surface. Their faces blur when I try to hold them in memory. The woman's laugh carries the same rhythm as Marissa's. The young guy's camera clicks at the same intervals as Evan's. Even the air smells the same. Sap and frost. A clean edge of altitude that never fades. Yee. The first part always plays like a recording. The small talk, the jokes about bears, the shuffle of boots on packed dirt. I keep my distance now, let them walk ahead, afraid that anything I say might trigger it sooner. Maybe silence will buy us more time. I can feel the loop pressing close, the static of the coming glitch just beneath the sound of the wind. I want to stop, to sit down and refuse to take another step. But something deeper than instinct keeps my feet moving. A command I didn't agree to, whispering beneath my thoughts. You lead them in. When the young guy... Evan's echo asks if we can take a short break. I nod, because that's what I did before. The words leave my mouth in the same order as last time. I even catch myself smiling. It feels rehearsed, mechanical. While they rest, I take out my Garmin. It glows faint blue, battery full. The coordinates on the screen are nonsense, longitudes reversed, decimals repeating like a heartbeat. At the bottom, a small label blinks. Ranger mode, active. I don't remember ever turning that on. The forest devours sound first, then direction. Except this time, something shifts. A voice breaks through the hum, not the whisper of the woods or the warped playback of my own calls. Something else. Calm, level, human. Guide, it says. But you can change the signal. It's coming from the Garmin. The voice sounds like mine, but steadier, older. I stare at the screen. Who are you? Previous version, it says. Last iteration before you became the marker. What does that mean? The system needs an anchor. You followed the coordinates too long. What? The loop built itself around you. I don't understand. Yes, you do. The Garmin screen flickers, showing flashes of places I've already walked. The creek, the cairn, the ridge, the fog rising. Each image plays on repeat, layered on itself until they blur together. Why are you telling me this? I ask. That means you can choose. Choose what? To stop guiding. The forest trembles faintly around us, the air rippling like heat off asphalt. I glance at the hikers. They remain frozen, shadows bending wrong in the half-light. I realize the loop doesn't just replay the landscape. It reuses them too. Echoes of people I failed to save. What happens if I stop? I ask. The system collapses without landmarks, so I either guide or turn into the trail. Yes, the hum deepens, vibrating the ground. The hikers' outlines begin to distort, static crawling along their edges. The Garmin flashes one final message: break, pattern, or repeat. Repeat. Everything shifts. Sound rushes back in, the hiss of wind, the rustle of leaves, a faraway bird call that sounds almost right. The hikers jerk back into motion, confused, blinking. What the hell was that? The young man says. Did you see that light? I don't answer, because for the first time I feel something new, pain in my chest, air that burns when I breathe, real sensations. Maybe this is it. Maybe I broke it. But when I check my watch, the hands still point to 12:47. We keep walking. The forest looks different, but only barely. The trail curves down toward the basin. I can hear water again, soft and real this time. At the bottom, we find the creek. It's flowing, truly flowing. The water sparkles with sunlight. I kneel beside it, dip my hand in. Cold, wet, alive. The second version doesn't move the same way. Its mouth opens slowly, soundless. I back away, stumbling into the others. We're leaving, now. They don't argue. The forest narrows around us as we climb. My heart pounds, my breath burning. I don't care which direction anymore, as long as it's away from the water. Halfway up the slope, the woman stops. Wait, she says, pointing ahead. Real wood, real glass, sunlight hitting the metal of the roof. I can see the weathered boards, the radio antenna, the old sign by the steps. It's exactly as it was. We step out into the clearing, boots crunching gravel. I drop my pack, finally letting the weight go. The door to the cabin stands open. I can hear faint radio chatter inside, the crackle of a real signal. I could walk in, call for help, maybe even leave this place. The same one from the cairn. Open to the last page. This time, the handwriting is mine. To whoever reads this next, if you wake up at 12:47, it means the trail remembered you. Do not lead anyone past the overlook. Do not follow the sound of your own voice. Destroy every device before it turns off. The forest will try to reset you. Run before it decides you're part of the map. Signals back, he says. We can call for help. The screen glows bright white. The display reads, searching for device, Aaron Pike host. Before I can react, the world flickers again. The radio inside the cabin blares static, then a familiar voice, calm and composed. Base to Unit 4B. Confirmed GPS ping at Desolation Ridge. Marked signal, 12,047. Sending new guide in for retrieval. The light drains from the air. The hikers fade. And from deep in the forest, through the static, I hear my own voice whisper one last time. Soft, resigned, almost kind. Welcome back to the trail. For a heartbeat, everything looks right. The trees sway, the wind moves, the clock on the wall above the door ticks audibly. but the hands read 1247. I don't move. I let the moment hold, pretending it's normal. If I breathe too loud, maybe the forest will notice I've woken up again. The radio inside crackles. Base to Ridge Outpost. Do you copy? You're listed as inactive. How are you transmitting? I look down. The radio's not plugged in. I don't know, I say. Where's Unit 4B? Another pause. Unit 4B went missing 9 years ago. You're the last ping we have from the Desolation Ridge corridor. 9 years. 1. Yow. The air around me tightens. The wood of the porch groans softly under my boots, though I'm not moving. Listen, I say. There's a loop out here. It resets every time the GPS dies. I think the ridge, it's using us. It builds itself from memory. Static floods the speaker, washing out my words. Through the distortion, her voice returns, distorted but urgent. If you can hear me, move south. Don't stay near the signal. Do not. Then nothing. I wait, but the forest stays quiet. Only the hum beneath the quiet, steady as a pulse. I stand and step down from the porch. The gravel crunches, the same rhythm as before, the same direction. I don't want to go south. Every path feels like an echo, but the voice said to move, so I move. The trail is damp, earth slick from unseen rain. Every few yards I pass remnants of someone else's gear, a torn pack strap, a crushed flashlight, a boot heel stamped deep into the mud. All fresh, none mine. The tag on his jacket reads, C. Ward. He's holding a GPS. When I touch it, the screen flickers to life. My name in the corner, the same coordinates looping over and over. Below it, a small text reads, Ranger mode, handed off. His hand twitches once, fingers jerking toward the GPS. I turn and run. The forest seems to rearrange itself as I go, trunks sliding, shadows crossing against each other in patterns that don't match the light. I follow what looks like open ground until the trees break into another clearing. There's a fire tower there. I don't remember one ever being built on this ridge. The ladder's rusted but intact. I climb, each rung cold beneath my palms. At the top, the view stretches for miles, valleys folding over each other in gray mist. No sign of the basin, no road, no horizon line. The entire forest moves like water beneath a glass surface. I switch on my radio again. Static. It's hard to see through the haze, but I know that posture, that gait. Another ranger walking slowly, steadily toward the ladder. He carries a GPS unit in one hand, light blinking blue. He looks up, and my stomach drops. It's me again. But this version looks new, unbroken. His uniform's clean, his face unscarred. He calls up in a calm, steady voice. Sir, we've been sent to extract you. Whisper. He climbs anyway, deliberate, patient. Each creak of the ladder echoes in my chest. When he reaches the platform, we stand face to face. He studies me, expression unreadable. You're the previous anchor, he says. I nod once. They told me to replace you. He raises the GPS. The screen glows bright. Reading, transfer in progress. The hum builds to a roar. The air vibrates until I can't think, can't breathe. Wait, I manage. At least tell me, how many times has it done this? He smiles faintly. Enough to make a map. A light flares. The morning smells clean, full of pine. My Garmin beeps once. Behind me, a woman's voice says, "You must be our guide." I turn. 3 hikers wait. A man, a woman, a kid with a camera, all smiling. For a heartbeat, I think about warning them, about refusing to move. But the words that come out of my mouth aren't mine. They're the forest's. Ready when you are. The coordinates load, looping faintly at the bottom of the screen. Route name, Desolation Ridge. Last update, 1247.